Good evening, viewers. We are live from Mumbai, a very lockdown Mumbai. Currently free to download from betterphotography.in. So all you have to do is enter your email address and you can download the latest issue of Better Photography.
Hi.
Hey, hi Radhika, how are you?
Hi. Hello.
Hi Radhika.
Hi. Can you just give me 1 second? I'm just trying to connect the audio to my earpods. Just 1 second.
Okay, are you able to hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, I am. You're all audible, but I can't see you clearly.
Oh, okay, so the video is blurred. Is the video blurred? I can hear you. I can hear you. You'll have to go a little closer to the microphone, but I can hear you clearly. Although you have to go a little closer to the microphone.
Can you hear
Okay,
me
we are
now?
getting reports that the video feed is pixelated, which basically means that there is some sort of a lag happening, possibly from my end, because since morning I've been having some trouble. In case the connection drops very badly, is Radhika visible, guys? Is Radhika visible? Can you confirm by just sending a comment whether Radhika is clearly visible or not?
Hi guys.
Okay,
Can you
great,
hear me
great,
properly?
great. So Naveen is saying that Naveen Krishnan, so he's saying that Radhika is completely audible. Thank you, Naveen, for that comment.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So let me begin by introducing Radhika. Hey, Radhika, welcome to the Better Photography in Conversation with. And this
All
edition
right. So
here,
this is
viewers,
Vishal.
is with.
This is Vishal. Sorry. This is
Hey, Vishal.
Vishal.
Hi. How are
Vishal
you?
handles. Vishal's my
Hi,
partner, and
I'm
he
good.
handles the video part for us.
Yeah,
Okay. Hey, Vishal.
hello.
So, so Vishal is the
Nice to.
video aspect to the whole thing, but we are here to introduce
So,
Radhika. Radhika is a Sony artisan. She is a wedding photographer. She has been into wedding photography for a while now. In 2014 and 2015, she won the Wedding Photographer of the Year awards. She won a category in the Wedding Photographer of the Year awards, and she subsequently also won a couple of Fearless awards, which is very much to her credit. Thank you, Radhika, for being with us. And I think
Thank you.
we
Thank
have
you,
a lot of
Madhul.
people who have
Madhul,
logged
it's
in.
an honor
A lot of
to.
people, yeah.
Madhul, it's
So
an
people are saying that
honor
the.
to.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Sorry.
All right, Madhul, it's an honor to speak to you also. I have read about you. I've heard about you from so many people. Very few people know that you are the backbone behind everything that is there in better photography. I've heard a lot of stories about your knowledge, your how humble you are, how rounded you are, and it's a pleasure and it's an honor to speak with you.
Thanks, Radhika. Thank you so much. Of course, Radhika, let me just say that it is not just me. It is my team. My team is like my family away from home. And, so whatever that you're seeing within the magazine and within Better Photography, so it's the team who's the backbone. It's the team, who eventually I have to give all the credit to my team. Okay, so thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. So there are reports of the videos being blurred from both ends, but I think the audio is being heard fine. So I think we shall simply continue because, as long as, we, as long as the audio is audible, I think we'll just continue. In case the audio drops also, in case you get reports where the audio is really badly dropping, what we're going to do is we're going to log out and log in again. In case that happens. So, Radhika, if that happens, then you need to just request to be live again with me once I log out and log in again. All right?
Sure.
Just in case it happens.
Sure.
All right. So, Radhika, first questions first. Okay. Tell us about your beginnings. Tell us about how photography occurred to you. How did photography come into your life? What was the starting point?
All right. So we all are generally in that phase of life where everybody's so clueless, right? The teenage phase where everybody's just so clueless that they don't know what they want to do. So even now, I have a very, very empathetic emotions for people who are going through the same feeling because I have been through the same for like eternal. And that's where I was studying in SET, which is School of Architecture, and I was doing my master's in MSc in Conservation Studies. And in that process, I was also doing photography as an elective with Shri Padmanand Dalwadi sir as my mentor. And I think it was just that I had put up an exhibition on photography in the basement just because I got the basement free. So I'm like, okay, whatever I've done, let me just put up as an exhibition. And in SET, a lot of practitioners are faculties. They come and teach. So they must have seen the work and they started hiring me as their photographer. And that's how I started doing small gigs in architectural photography. And side by side, I was also trying all sorts of different kinds of photography, trying to understand what is my taste, what is my liking. But that confidence which I got when I put up the exhibition, where, sometimes when family tells you, you really don't know whether they're doing it just because they're your family, whether they're, saying nice things. But when an outsider tells you, it's very much an outsider point of view, which gives you a lot of confidence. So I think that was the starting point for me to get into photography and take it up a little more seriously than just a hobby. Side by side, I was trying all different kinds of photography, and slowly and gradually I realized that I really like people. So also I've done my bachelor's in psychology. So that also somewhere helps me in knowing the kind of things that I'm doing and exploring and studying them. Um, this is very much the reason why I really started liking wedding photography because it is to do with people, and also it had a lot of photojournalistic element in it. So that's almost like trying to pull in all different kinds of photography knowledge and then trying to pour it in wedding photography. So yeah.
Okay, so which year was this?
Started.
Which year did did wedding photography happen to you?
Roughly about 2013.
2013. So that's not a very long time ago, and in 7 years you've actually managed to, you managed to come all the way on top, which is actually quite brilliant. You know, but correct me if I'm wrong. So you've had a passion for travel photography. You love travel photography. In fact, the other Instagram handle that you have is all about travel. And in fact, I was looking at those images, and frankly speaking, I was quite stunned. I loved those images. So tell us something about the dichotomy here. So on one side is your profession, which is wedding photography. On the other side is travel photography. So tell us something about that.
Also the very name Destination Photographers, because it just happened so that we ended up shooting a lot of weddings outside our city. And the byproduct happened so that we ended up traveling, and when you have a camera in your hand, you cannot miss clicking, right? So it more so was a byproduct rather than an intentional thing for doing it. And I don't have a personal page on Instagram, so that is what my personal page would look like if at all there is any personal page. So travel photography is that. But let me also say the same thing about you. I saw your page also, and there's so much of travel that shows in your work too. So how does it? I'm sure it must be like you don't intentionally click, but it's just so that we're there in those places so much that we see so many beautiful things that we cannot stop clicking those things, right? How does it go for
Right.
you?
So that's essentially what photography is all about. That's what makes a photographer. You really can't keep the camera down, isn't it? Yeah, so does it happen side by side with your wedding photography? So when you go for a to a destination, when you travel, do you take a couple of days off just to do your travel photography? Is that how it works?
Sometimes. So there are so many destinations that we must be visiting for the first time. So we make it a point to take 2, 3 days over and above that. Even the team takes a break like that, and we make sure that one of the days we go out, we explore the place. We also in group also sometimes travel photography. It kind of keeps our inside the artist inside us alive.
Absolutely. So I think all work and no play makes for a dull team. So I think it's a great idea to to go out with the team too and do some photography which is not related to work. I think it's also nice to have a break in between work. So yeah, I very much appreciate that you're doing this. So going to the first answer that you gave, where you mentioned the psychology, which is a very interesting thing. Can you tell us a little bit more about how psychology connects with your wedding photography?
Okay, sure. So the way we function here at Destination Photographers, I would say only 10% of the work is actually camera clicking. Okay, rest everything else is just pre-production and post-production. So when I say pre-production, I'm sure every bride will have the same thing that to say about working with us. So when we say pre-production, we put a lot of effort and stress in knowing the people. There are various drills to do it, there are various ways to do it. But I would say roughly about 60% of the weightage is just taken in knowing and investing yourself. I would say that that's a kind of process that we want ourselves to do in order for us to get sensitive towards what we will be shooting. And that is, in fact, actually is the only way we can give them the kind of work that we end up giving them. So I would say 60 to 70% is just the pre-production. There's a lot of knowing the family, knowing the couple, knowing what they like, what they dislike. Even if we have our own way of going about shooting, even if we have our style, our signature styles and all, we still will make sure that we know in and out of the couple and the family also. And generally, this is what I tell my entire team, that imagine you have to behave as if this is your best friend's wedding. What would you do if this was your best friend's wedding? And the kind of mental journey that happens when you start thinking like that, start behaving like that, that's where you also get the same reciprocative response from the opposite person, where every family would call you by your name and not, hey photographer, just come and click me. No, they'll know your name. They will start interacting with you, not just in terms of photography. There's so much connection, that possibility of connections that are there, which then at the field we end up exploring only because we really invest a lot of time in knowing the couple. Touchwood, our couple have also been so nice that every time we enter in a wedding as a client and photographer relationship, but when we walk out of the wedding, it's always best of friends. So that's how we like to keep it.
I agree, Radhika. That's a
Also,
really, really good point.
also the
Radhika?
second part that I was talking about, also the second part that I was talking about was the post production. So we also pay a lot of attention in post-production. So there are, of course, there are a lot of drafts and a lot of back and forth within the team who's editing. But curation is very, very important. That is where also the entire idea of photo story comes in. So when I say photojournalistic photography, how you're telling a story, may it be in terms of video or may it be in terms of picture story, how you are curating the entire content is very, very essential for us when we are delivering our work.
That's very true. I think that both pre-production and post-production are extremely important. If I can, liken this to, something that I'm more familiar with, which is basically street photography, how you approach a stranger on the street depends, entirely decides the kind of photo that you take of that person, whether the photo will happen or not. So in a sense, the idea is that, you can't sneak a photo on the street. You have to be confident, you have to smile, you have to get in touch with the other person, even if you don't know, the complete stranger will respond to you likewise. Okay, if you are confident, the other person has confidence in you, and allows you to get that, that definitive street photo. It works exactly the same way on the streets. So yes, I completely agree. Psychology plays a wonderful role. And that's an interesting answer. In fact, it's given rise to a number of questions which I will sort of ask in the process of our interview. But my next question is, usually the first assignment is something that teaches you a lot, because that is the first thing that where you make your mistakes, where you have your the greatest learnings. So can you tell us about that one assignment during your initial formative years, which gave you your biggest learnings?
So my first ever, of course, there were plenty more before that too, but like a profound one, profound project was Ronnie and Swayoshi in Calcutta. So we had gotten a wedding, and that's where I had already done an international collaboration with a French photographer. He, by the way, is a legend in himself, and he is also one of my strongest mentor. He's one of my most important mentor in photography. His name is William Lambert, a French photographer. So what we had done was he would come to India and we do a collaboration where we shoot a wedding in India, and I stayed with him for 2 to 3 months in France, and we shot like good 8 to 10 French weddings there. So I would say that experience was one of a kind. And then since then, I've been doing a lot of collaborations with a lot of local, national, international photographers, and that journey is just impeccable. It's just beautiful.
Okay, you mentioned earlier in an earlier answer that you were into photojournalistic photography. In fact, even I read in one of your social media handles that you were into photojournalistic photography. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so during the college time, um, since we had so much time on us, we tried every sort of photography. Also, we were doing the diploma course, so they also pushed us to try exploring all sorts of different. So every morning we would go out on the streets of Ahmedabad, and the old city is so nice, and it's just the morning light and the morning this thing, right? So you walk random streets and you see beautiful things. So like that, not just photojournalistic wedding photography, we explored so many different kinds of photography. Food photography, Sunday we would have fashion photography, we would have travel photography, we would go to we went to Manali, entire group, and we did this entire photo journey there. So like that, we did all sorts of different kinds of photography, and somewhere this is what I would also recommend a lot of people to try all different sorts of photography, because no knowledge would go wasted. Imagine the knowledge in my own wedding photography. We do food photography in like because sometimes we come to know that the client is too much into they love food. So we take an extra mile and do some food photography for them, because they would have certain chefs flown into island just to get their tastes right. So things like that, right? If it's important to them, we give it to them. Imagine how important fashion photography, just basics of fashion photography. If you know that, you are able to make a bride who is never posed in her life to make her look stunning like a Vogue model, right? That is what is challenging and most interesting for me. Same goes for, as I said, photojournalistic qualities of photography. You try and use it in wedding photography. Every kind of different kinds of photography would help you. Wildlife photography will help you to be patient with everything, right? So there's so many things from different kinds of photography. You try and code it in wedding photography, and you have a new mixture of your own, right?
Absolutely, I completely agree. Every genre of photography has something to contribute, and let me just add a question to the previous one. So there is this buzzword almost that is going around of candid photography. And candid photography actually technically is photographing a scene very naturally, or photographing a scene when a person is either not aware that you're photographing, or even if a person is aware, the person is acting very, very natural. So, a lot of people speak in wedding photography, at least, a lot of people are talking about themselves being a candid photographer, when actually what they're trying to say is that they are trying to do photography in a more photojournalistic sense. So what is your idea of the word candid in wedding photography? Is it overused? Is it underused? Is it used in the correct way? How does it work in your case?
For me, candid photography is like small part of a bigger umbrella, which is photojournalistic wedding photography. Candid is important, for sure. But just to say that only candid for us, I only speak for photography that we do. So just by using the word candid photography, it kind of is limiting because there's so much more in terms of documenting stuff, right? Which can be part of photojournalistic wedding photography.
True.
So part could be candid, which is all about expressions, all about face, all about emotions. But with that, there's so much there. There's a lot of chaos that is happening, a lot of people, a lot of set decor, which is beautiful behind the scenes. All of that, when you bring everything together, that kind of is more wholesome as an output, if you say. So for me, a good balance of everything, even candid, even traditional, I don't think justice and justice is an wholesome idea to even give it to anybody. Uh, for a photographer, let's say candid is more interesting, but even a simple photo of just a father and daughter um, posing, simple posing, that can have an immense value to that bride, right? So I, I, I think it is little, like the word, oh, I am a candid photographer is little, like I would say it is important, but there's much more than that. There's much more than that.
Okay, we've got a comment by Ramesh Kumar who says the audio levels are less. Ramesh, can you just, or among the audience, is the audio level less from my side, or is it less from Radhika's side? Can you just indicate that? Okay, there's a comment that says, Radhika, can you use headphones so we can hear clear audio? Radhika, I think I'm feeling that your audio levels are a little less too from
Okay.
Radhika's side. Okay. So, would it be possible for you to connect your headphones?
Is it better now? Is it better now?
Much better. Yeah, I think much better now.
Okay.
Can the audience confirm that it is okay now?
Yeah. Yes, all good. Yeah.
Is the voice level from Radhika still low?
Is it
Can the
better,
audience
guys?
confirm?
Can you hear me?
Okay, great. So we have one confirmation that says yes.
Perfect. Great. Okay. All right.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Okay, so let's just continue with I like your last answer. Absolutely. So there is more than one kind of photography that goes on at a wedding, and I think someone needs to be multifaceted and multi-talented. They need to learn portraiture. They need to learn all kinds of different styles of photography to be able to really work in a wedding scenario. So that is very, very true. So my next question is, what are some of the greatest challenges that you perceive with wedding photography?
Oh
What are some of
man,
what?
they're never ending. They're never ending. But I'll tell you what. the difference, this is the new thing I just learned, is the difference between art and design. Design comes with a lot of limitations and challenges. If there's no design, if there's no challenge, or if there's no limitation, then it's just art, right? I think then photography, especially wedding photography, it goes into the line of designing because there's so many challenges, like every step. I can just go on and on about the challenges on field, off field, because you just like, and human behavior is so intense and different, and it's very complex. So every client is new, every problem can be new, right? Of course there are different ways to deal with it, but I would say, imagine like, it could be very simple problems also. That imagine you go to the venue early and it's a beautiful, it happens so many times, we go to these beautiful destinations, and we would do a proper 2 hour scouting of, and then take the test shots, and then like we're so excited to then take the bride with us. And then imagine, it always, I think 90% of the time it just happens so that the bride is like, oh Radhika, but we only have 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Can we just do a quick session on this? But like imagine, like it could be small problems like that. Like you would have just imagined the entire beautiful, like a video and photos, entire trail in your head, but then it just doesn't work out. In that, how do you still make sure that you perform and give them what is needed? It's just not about photography, right? It's also about getting that connect with the bride, even if she has so much of time crunch, she has so much of pressure from the family, still making sure, convincing her to give you more time to take her out, do the pictures. This is one small thing like that. There's like so many, the coordination, having a sync between your team is so important, so that we work as a team and not like, wedding is, this is also why I like wedding photography, because there's a teamwork, right? So there's so much of rubbing on to each other's energy, and that is why we all have to be high on energy, all of us. Like if I'm down, I see my fellow shooters energy and I'm back again in the game. So there's so much of dynamics that takes place in wedding photography. I don't know whether I'm like losing track of what, but like there's
Oh no,
so
no.
many such.
I think yeah, I think yeah, we get the point. So basically, from the beginning to the end, I think everything is challenging because all the situations are so diverse. You'll never come across
Yeah,
the same situation ever again. It's like it's never the same. I think every
yeah,
situation at a
yeah,
wedding
yeah.
is so
And plus,
different.
it's not about you. It's not about you. It's always about the bride, right? So even if you have a vision, you have everything, and you are trying to give them the best, you still have to struggle. The struggle is so much in terms of just getting and conveying about what you want to do. Then is where the art of photography comes in. Then is when, getting the frames right, a lot of those comes in. But there's so much of struggle at just like behavioral level that you have to deal with in wedding photography. There's so much of emotions you have to deal with. You need to know where to step in, where to not step in, when to give space, when not to, like when to actually take a stand and say, okay, whatever it is, but I need my shot right. So there's so much of dynamics there that I think photography, again, as I said, is just 10% of the entire bit.
So you mentioned just now that you work with a team, right?
Yes.
So what is usually a team strength at, let's say, uh, at a general wedding, at one of your assignments? How many people do you have with you at that
So
point of time?
normally it's always a core team of 6 people. So
Six,
we always
six
do a
people.
pair, and pair. So one pair of photographer and videographer stays with the bride, one pair of photographer and videographer stays with the groom, and the third pair, we call them the traditional pair. They have to go and do the behind the scenes. They have to go to the venue early. They have to take the guests who have come earlier. They have to then shift to traditional pictures, rituals, documentary stuff, all of that. And the creative photographers, they will stick to the couple and first family. So their job is just to focus on the couple and first family, because that in itself is very exhaustive.
So how did you arrive at this?
And then,
How did you arrive at this?
one thing is very sure that we will always take two side weddings. So earlier we used to get, okay, we only want bride side and groom side, somebody else will handle it. But then it's always an incomplete story, right? Because
Correct, absolutely.
wedding is of two people. You have to tell a story from two sides, right? So then we started only taking two sides weddings, and we narrate the entire story in the sense of while bride was doing this, the groom was doing this, the parents, this was happening, and then the venue, this was happening. So that's the kind of mix that we want to show as a wholesome output, right? And then, of course, there are helper and drone operators. Sometimes, uh, sometimes I am the third wheel, where if something goes wrong, I'm the one helping them with the drone, and I'm the one like, fixing up something, so things like that. Yeah.
So believe it or not, I know exactly what you mean. It happens with my team too. My team, they decide. They are the ones who do practically almost everything. I step in if there is help required. So I'm literally the helper. So they decide what work they need to give me. So that's the way it works with me. But
This
in
is
your case, tell
exactly
me
why. Also, this is also why we call ourselves destination photographers, because it's a team that is there. There's no Radhika Pandit. There's no. So I intentionally have wanted it this way, that it's always the team. That's why destination photographers.
But there are two sides to wedding photography, especially looking at your work, which you put up. There are two sides to it. One is being this creative force, which one is about this creative force, which is behind you, which tells you that, hey, this is what I want to really shoot. I'm seeing these frames occur, and this is what I want to capture. The second is being the manager of a team and knowing that management is also crucial. It is extremely important. So how does both of these forces, how do you actually work this out at a wedding? It must be crazy. It must be so tough to, work out both these aspects. Does your team work independently, autonomously? Do you just step in at points of time? How does it really work at a wedding?
Okay, so with every wedding, you go better and better and better, and then you reflect on the earlier things where you see that, okay, something went off, and is there a possibility for us to not do the same thing in the next one, right? So there's so many times where so many situations can be handled and planned in prior. Everything, we make a note on everything that can go wrong. We plan it before. We have plan Bs, plan A, plan B, and generally I'm always like the plan B for everything. If the camera goes wrong, I have a separate camera. If a photographer is sick, I am there for plan B. If this goes, I am there for plan B. So I generally never take the responsibility, because I'm always at like the damage control or running around.
Your plan
like,
B. Yeah.
I'm always the plan B in my team.
That's awesome. That's actually, that might very well be the best place to be, at in a wedding. The plan B is
also the artist
the most
in
fun.
us. I'm sure you'll relate to this. Also, the artist in us will never stay in one place. Like even if we know that things are all perfectly running fine and we're not required, we'll still be at something or the other, because it's just the artist in us which just never sits quiet.
So Radhika, changing tracks a bit, okay, we are going to actually talk a little bit about the commercial side of things because, after all, commercial success is as important as creative success or being well known. And you are fairly commercial successful. In fact, I would not use the word fairly. I think you're very commercially successful. Okay, so how did you get to that point? What were some of these steps? How did you decide? What were some of the things that helped you become a commercial success?
I would say my personal connect with all my clients. So 90% of the clients that I get are all referral clients. And when there are referral clients, they already know the kind of work which is put in. They know the honesty, they know the quality, they know. In fact, a lot of times I tell most of the new clients to actually dig in deep and see the entire galleries of the work that is being done, right? Because that's when they know that, okay, this is why they're paying. It is very important. I used to also ask earlier that why should somebody pay me more? But then it's very important to justify in your own head. And if that is done, I think it's easy then to put your point forth to all the clients who are coming in. So yeah, it's very important to to explain the work that goes in. That is, I think, the crux.
Okay.
I don't
So
know
is
whether
that,
I answered your question. Yeah.
in a way you did. I mean,
But with a new
that's a very fair point.
with a new client is always a challenge because they don't know, they've never seen you at work. So sometimes it's only when somebody sees you is when they understand that, okay, the pictures are nice, but this is the journey with which this happened. And that's why not only a fabulous wedding, but even a small room wedding can also look gorgeous because there are these methods, there these approach that is taken. And it's not about making something pretty look pretty. It's much more than that. And if we are able to explain all of these intricacies to the new client, if they connect well on that, I think they're sold.
There was someone who just now asked, whether you get all your, all your clients, is it purely by referral or does social media also help? Because you are very active on social media. You are an influencer. You've got these huge numbers. So what helps what? Because you mentioned that 90% is through referrals. So tell us about the social media connect.
It's a struggle. I am learning. I would not call myself a social influencer. It's very difficult. I am learning and I try new things. I have a very new team right now. We have 6 people in our social media part. Very new bunch of fresh people, and they come up with beautiful ideas. I think all the credit goes to them at the moment of what it is right now. But it's a very new field for me, and I myself, even though I look so outgoing, but I'm a very introvert person. This is my first ever live talk. So no, it's not really what you think.
All right, but what I liked about social media, I was going through some of the posts there. In many of the posts, the person who actually wrote the post has actually written their name there, saying this is posted by so and so. I really like that idea because it also shows that there's a certain level of confidence in the idea that whoever is posting can actually name themselves and say that this post has been designed by so and so. I like that thing coming.
Madhur, I must tell you, I love the way you look up people and do your research. It's very commendable.
Well, to be quite honest, I wish I could have gone through more of your pictures and more of your posts. And I really, really liked your travel, your travel Instagram page because it was actually really nice. I spent quite a bit of time on your travel page. Okay, so once I noticed your travel page, I'm going to start following you on that because I really do think that, some of that work is really, really stunning. So guys, please go to Radhika's travel page also and just take a look because I think, Radhika as a photographer really comes out over there on the travel page as well.
Thank you, Madhur. Thank you.
Okay, so who are your inspirations? Who inspires you the most?
So many.
Who or what?
Many.
Who or what?
And there are different answers to this. Okay, on a bigger level, everything inspires, and you have to be sensitive. This is this year's agenda. I need to be more empathetic, and the reason why I need to be empathetic is so that I'm more sensitive to it. And the more you're sensitive is where you learn from it, and when you learn from it, you are inspired from it. Even a small tree will inspire you to even so it's a very generic answer, but trust me, I don't know, the value in being empathetic is just not talked about so much, but it's so important to be empathetic. If you're empathetic, you will be sensitive. If you're sensitive, you will be inspired from that thing, right? So according to me, my inspiration, I get inspired from so many things. Also, the reason why I start so many things and then very seldom I'm able to finish a lot of things. Also, the reason why I'm into wedding photography, because I have no patience, right? It is 3 days, you're done, and then there's next project. So I'm a very impatient person that way. Uh, uh, Coming back to your question of who inspires me, well, in wedding photography, there are these beautiful photographers, Indian, international. There is Victor Lax, there is Pascal, there is William Lemley, there is uh, Mirola, Fabio Mirola, there is, Emin Kulien is very interesting, even as a person. And there's so many. Even in India, I really connect well with Vivek Sekweria. He's fantastic. Even Nitin Dangwal. I think the common thing between all of this is photography is one thing, but them as humans is another thing, right? So I connect with the human side first, and then comes all the photography thing.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, Vivek has the distinction of having won, I think, every category of wedding photographer of the year, every single category. Okay, he put in an entry and he won that category. And he also has the unique distinction of actually being the wedding photographer of the year. The title is in a prize, you know. So, and that's crazy.
He also
Well,
has a title of my father. He also has a title of my father.
I didn't get that. The title of your father?
So I call him as my father figure. He's like my father figure. So
Oh wow, okay.
that way.
Vivek, if you're hearing, you've grown old, man. Okay, so you know, so now we can relate.
No.
Now we can relate.
No. I mean it in a
each
very,
other.
very positive way. So he has a very motherly vibe, right? I'm sure you know.
Yeah, that is
I'm
true.
sure you know. He's a
Yeah,
very
that is true.
motherly vibe.
That is
Yeah.
very true. That is very true. You know, his
Very
journey is
nurturing.
unique.
Very nurturing. Yeah.
His journey is unique. He's a very nurturing man. He's, you know, he is someone who is very easy to relate to and speak with. You know, I think he's a wonderful man. Yes. So having Vivek as a he definitely should be a role model to a lot of photographers in the country. Okay. So
Yeah.
so the next set of questions. Oh, there he is, Vivek. He's saying it's time to get retired now. Well, Vivek, you know, with photographers like Radhika around, you know, you may just be right, you know. So you have some tough competition coming up from the next generation, and and we are calling them the next generation, you know. So you know, it's really time for us to look at our own age and act our age, I think, right?
With his age, the wisdom he comes with, it's, believe me. So there was one wedding where I and him were shooting together, and of course I knew the bride and the family, and it was on the wedding day that I had to leave, and I was so apologetic because and of course they knew that I had to leave, but they were very sorry and upset about it. And the way Vivek handled it, okay. Next day I get a call from the bride saying, Radhika, I don't want you. You're not required. Vivek is enough.
So there you go. You know, so
Yeah.
sometimes experience does count. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question answer round is like a quick fire round. Okay, so you just have to simply react. Tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Just answer in, let's say, a couple of sentences. You know, so that's what we are calling it a quick fire round. Okay. So you seem to enjoy black and white photography a lot, especially in your wedding photography. So black and white versus color, what works for you?
Okay, mixed answer. Black and white, it's evergreen, but India is all about colors, right? So you cannot also ignore the fact that India, and anybody hears India, it's all so colorful. So it's mixed bag, sorry, but it's mixed bag.
That's fine. So it's quick fire round, So anything can work. There's no wrong answer, okay, in this. So your favorite lenses, because a lot can be told about a photographer by their favorite lenses. Which are your favorite lenses? Your go-to lens, if you had like 2 lenses, 3 lenses, which would those be?
24 and 85 block, always. If I have these 2 lenses, I don't need anything else.
Okay, so that's interesting. Are those, again, just a follow-up question, are those the lenses that you carry with you all the time when you're shooting a wedding?
Also, and only lenses.
Oh, really? Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, that's interesting. That is interesting. Okay. What is the first thing that you do when you meet a client for the first time?
Think about it, because 24 and 85, when you go crop on Sony, so it can also have another, so 24 will give you around about 35 when you crop it, and 85 will round about give you 110 or 120 roundabout, right? So there are 4 focal lens that you have.
So do you use this, do you use the crop factor a lot?
Sometimes.
Okay, sometimes when the situation warrants it, you do use it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What is the first thing that you do when you meet a client for the first time?
Say hello, a very, very warm hello. Because I'll tell you, okay, it's very simple, but a lot of times, especially when you have a call or people just walk in, they're like in urgency to know your packages, right? And they forget to even introduce themselves. So it's a very important, and trust me, just a very warm hello is so important. People, their entire expressions, their entire thought processes change when you just say, it's almost like you give them a breather, ask them to breathe, and then just refresh the entire thing and say, hey, let's start again. So a simple, nice, big smile, hello.
I think there's a lot to learn from that, So all those wedding photographers are watching this. The first thing that you do is to say a big, warm hello, which I think, a lot of us miss out on. We actually dive right into it, but the warm hello is sometimes missing, right? There are a lot of questions coming along, Radhika.
I'll tell you what, even during the wedding, it's always a lot of chaos. But then somebody's like, there's something which is doing and this and that, and then suddenly a photographer comes and they're like, yeah, well, tell me, yeah. This, like, hello. That's the reaction they also get, and they'll stop their work and they're like, oh, hi, hello. So it's that impact that gives. I'll tell you a real story. Like not just me, my entire team, they are used to doing this so much that we've had like grooms who have never, like during the wedding time, they don't want anybody around in the room, but they would want this photographer in. So we have I'll tell you, Kishan. So he would want this photographer only in his room and nobody else, right? Because it's just a refreshing thing you have when you just say a nice hello. You just calm somebody down and just like have a nice restart.
That's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. That's so true. It's so refreshing to have someone look into your eyes and say a really, really nice hello. And that really works. There are a lot of questions that are coming across. And again, a quick fire question. What are the cameras that you use? Which are the personal camera bodies that you use?
I have Sony. I have Sony A7R, A7 Mark III, A7R Mark III, A7 Mark IV. I have, but this is also because I have a team and they all use it also. I absolutely, so I earlier was a Nikon person, shifted to Canon, then shifted to Sony. Now I am very much, the major reason is I love how compact it is, the new Sony. So I'm, as it is, a very petite person, right? So, and I always have 2 bodies on me. So it's so exhaustive when you have like heavy things on you, right? So this helps you. Also one more thing. Also because photojournalistic wedding photography, so many times I just enter into a wedding and I get away saying that I'm bride's friend, and I love it. And even bride enjoys the entire way of how I'm just her friend and I'm just hanging out, and that gives you so many interesting point of views of an insight which a normal outsider photographer may not have. So also, yeah, that's one small thing. A lot of times we do this. So yeah, gear helps you do that also.
Okay, to Radhika, just a small announcement to all the viewers out here. We have a fair number of viewers who are very, very interested in what you're saying. So there are all these people out there. Just in case this particular session of the live cuts off, okay, so all the viewers out there, just in case this particular session of live cuts off, we will immediately be back with a second session of live to continue with the questions. The second session of live will continue immediately after the first. So if you all guys are going to be around and if you all guys are interested, we will definitely go into a second session of live. So Radhika, we will move into a second session of live if this cuts off. All right. So just as before,
Sure.
I will come live and you just request to be back on and we'll just continue where we left off. All right.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Is it already
So-
an hour? Is it already an hour?
Almost. It's like it's almost an hour, so we have I think about 5 or 6 minutes left before it will cut off automatically. I know it's been a nice round of Q&A. Okay, so we shall continue because I think that if the people are interested, if our viewers are interested, then I think it's nice for us to actually continue because personally I'm enjoying asking these questions, getting the answers that you're giving us. Yeah, so
Me too. Me too. I'm liking now. I started off a little nervous, but I'm loving this conversation. Yeah.
Great. So the next question is actually a bit of an interesting one. Okay. So tell me about the one thing that will make you accept a wedding assignment even if the fee is not as high as you would want it to.
The connect with the client. The connect. The word is connect. Is it a rapid fire still, or are we done with the rapid fire?
No, we are going with rapid fire. Of course, you can always add to the rapid fire. There's no problem. The connect is a good answer. Okay, so the minute you feel connected with the client, you decide whether you want to actually take up the assignment, even if the client cannot pay that kind of money. But what is the one thing an assignment, even what will make you reject an assignment?
Reject an assignment. Yeah, I see rejection as a very negative way to deal something which you see is as a design, right? So anything you can see it as a challenge, right? Anything which is repulsive, you can see it as a challenge, and you try and work it out. And I have not been so fortunate that I would have gotten so many weddings that I would have to reject them, to be very honest. But I would try and not reject. I would try and find a way out. I would try. The worst would be in certain situations where I would have totally lost with, let's say, a makeup artist or so that's where the team takes over and I come back and take a break, calm myself down. There can be intense sessions, right? So that's the worst. But I think we as team also are so balanced. Everybody's there to take care of each other. Even in terms of accepting a project, there's so many. Also, the charges are such that very few get filtered automatically, right? Most of the people get filtered automatically, right? So then, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of filtration samne se that I don't have to reject.
Okay, so there is just to interject, there are a number of people asking for your travel photography Instagram handle. So can you just let them know your travel photography Instagram handle, because this question has come up about 3 or 4 times by now.
Oh,
just let everyone know your travel photography.
It's called cultural.concoctions. Cultural.concoctions. If you can't find it, it's also on my wedding page. The link is there on my wedding page too. Cultural.concoctions.
Okay, guys. So if you want to see Radhika Pandit's travel photography work, you can go to a wedding page and you can find cultural concoctions. That is the Instagram handle under which
Cultural
travel works.
dot concoctions.
Cultural dot concoctions.
Cultural dot
Answer.
concoctions. Yes.
Okay, cultural dot concoctions is the Instagram handle, right? Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to move on to the last, question that I have for the quick fire kind of a round. Okay, so if you weren't a wedding photographer, what would you be?
Oh, there's so many things I can be. But I'll tell you, okay, I could have been an architect, I could have been a blogger, a travel blogger, anything to do with travel. I also considered like designing wardrobes for people, and there's so many such things that I wanted to try. But my next thing that I really want to take it up seriously, like imagine if there's a doomsday and everything goes for a toss. Like I want to explore something to do with, since I'm born in India, I already feel so gifted that I'm born in India, and India is such a lovely place with so many inspired people around. Also in terms of spirituality, also the word is very much like used. But I wanted to like come up with a school where all these people who are gifted, main thing for them is to share knowledge. They would love to share their knowledge, but there needs to be people who want to receive that. Not everybody can receive or are even capable to receive such knowledges, right? So I want to like make a platform where I can bring like two things together, and then, well, the byproduct is I end up learning so much. I love, like, this is my kick. I get kick out of like just researching and learning so much. So imagine like there's a school or there's like a place where there is already, and I'm sure somebody would have already thought of this, and I'm sure there might be so many, but like I would also want to do something on these lines.
That's very admirable. I think that's really nice. I completely share your sentiment. I have seen such incredibly talented people, and I'm not just saying that from the upper classes and from the or from the educated classes even. I have seen tribal art, and I've seen people do such wonderful things with such a crazy level of depth, which unfortunately is invisible. It's almost invisible. So I completely agree. I think it's an admirable thing, and I hope you do it at some point. I hope so. When you're talking about something very earth shattering, or a complete change, maybe this is it. We are facing a COVID-19 crisis, and maybe in the next 3 years you might suddenly decide to have a school, and then I could possibly be one of the students out there, so yeah, so it sounds great.
So by the way, okay, also the very reason why I want to do something on the similar lines, and have I started doing something on those lines? Okay, so there is this one small organization. The idea of that started with a bride's father, actually. So he was about to get retired and he wanted to do something in his life. So somewhere he was talking to me about this, and so he wanted to give back to the society. Basically, that was the idea. He then realized that there is so many good people who are already doing so many good things in India, of course, even outside, but in India, he wanted to focus, that he felt that there's even more a need for everybody to know them, because actual people who are doers, they barely talk, and a lot of talkers, they barely do, right? So a lot of doers that are there in India, we actually have a community. We go, we hunt them, and it's easy.